Hello everybody. So today I want to cover utilities and what utilities are doing with NEM 3. I believe it's not a very smart move. What utilities are doing with NEM 3 is they are pretty much preventing the use of the grid as a battery by homeowners. And I'll go into the mechanics throughout the video. But I think this is a very short-term move to not allow your users to store energy into the grid. And that's very similar to what a lot of businesses have done over the past. That's what legacy businesses tend to do. I call this short-term thinking or dumb-term thinking. You know, an example of that is, for example, Blockbuster. They had steep late fees, and because of those late fees, a lot of people decided to move to Netflix, and Netflix had no late fees. Bank fees are kind of the same story. A lot of customers of banks are trying to avoid the fees and the near zero interest rate paid at banks, and they're moving to neobanks who charge much fewer fees. A lot of legacy businesses like utilities are putting their profits now forward. They're saying we need our profits now, and they're not answering the very crucial question of will we still have a business in 10 years? And so this is the story of NEM 3 for utilities for me. In the current system, pre-NEM 3, you can use the grid as a battery, right? The grid is used as a giant battery. It's sort of a savings account for kilowatt hours, or sort of a drop box, but for energy, not for files. That's the current system. And I believe this could be a reasonable future for utilities. You just charge a small fee to use that giant common battery that is the grid. But instead, actions like NEM 3 shows that utilities are willing to go ahead and nickel and dime customers. That's the bank fees model. That's the Blockbuster late fees model. Because the new NEM 3 system is, we buy your current at 3 cents a kilowatt hour, wholesale price, which is essentially the cost of electricity coming out of, say, a nuclear plant. And we're going to sell it back to you for 15 to 35 cents, which is their retail price, the price on which they make money, make a margin. I believe this is a bad move. And if you listen to the recent Enphase conference call, Badri loves a lot in conference call, and he's kind of laughing about that too, all the way to the bank. And I think Elon is kind of seeing the same thing, which is what you're going to do when you have this deal where we buy back your solar panel green electricity at 3 cents and sell it back for 15 to 35 cents, a lot of customers are going to think and say, oh, wait, how much do batteries cost really? And that's really the crux of this argument. How much do batteries cost really? They follow a cost curve that is declining, which is going to make them more and more compelling year after year. So the movement towards M3, buy wholesale, resell retail, is all over the United States. And, that's a bad thing. That's a really bad thing. It's kind of like a bank where you would store money and then you can only get, say you store 100 and you only get a 20 back, And if you look at what happened to the bank system, it's bad enough that traditional banks are already leaky regarding rewarding you less and charging you fees. And banks, when you see what happens to banks, is driving the decentralization of money, right? People are like, well, wait a minute. I am going to store my money, say, in a dongle, like in a USB dongle in the form of stable coin, or I'm going to go with a neo bank, or I'm just going to hold cash because it's too expensive to use the bank. They have a little bit of leakage. There's much bigger leakage when a utility does that. Like when a utility is really only giving you back 20 out of 100, or really paying you 3 cents for your power and then selling it back to you at 30 cents. That's some powerful. I almost want to call it theft, right? That is some powerful take. That's a very, very strong take rate than even the more monopolistic businesses don't dare to do. Right? That's a very, very high take rate. And so I believe that's going to be a huge driving force for the decentralization of energy, right? If you export electricity to the grid at 1, you get back 20. That's not very, very good. And so people are going to look for ways to use that electricity as much as they can during the day. What are they going to do? Well, maybe if they don't have a battery, they're going to run their power during the day. When the sun is out, they're going to charge their electric cars during the day. But eventually, I believe they're going to buy batteries. And that was Battery's take on the recent Enphase conference call. It's Battery's take. The Enphase CEO was saying, yeah, they're going to buy batteries. You're creating a payoff on batteries. You're creating a return on investment on your batteries. And so I believe that people are just going to get their own batteries, store their own energy. And the question is why? Because I would argue that even until a few years ago, that would sound so far-fetched to think that people are going to produce their energy and just store it on their own, and every single family house is going to be its own independent microgrid where you don't rely from the grid anymore. But I think there's fundamental reasons to believe why this is happening faster than we think, and this is going to happen. And so let me just give us a quick update on where we're headed. Every time I talk about Enphase, I talk about that mega trend, and I talk about these charts. And if you see, for example, solar got 10 times cheaper. 10 times cheaper in 10 years, or 100 times cheaper in 20 years. It is the chart right here. You can measure that relationship. 100 times cheaper in 20 years, 10 times cheaper in 10 years. Solar also got much more efficient. It got twice as efficient in 12 years, i.e. the same solar panel today is about 600 watt, when back in the day it was 290 watts. So you've doubled that. And the state of the art in labs, when you test recent modern versions of solar panels in labs, shows that we're going to have at least another doubling. The efficiency that you get on modern solar panels right now is still twice as good as the state of the art of a commercial solar panel. And so are we going to get maybe to 3 times? Could we get to something close to 60% efficiency? Right now we're at about 20% for solar panels. I believe we could. There's obviously going to be a point where we're going to hit the laws of physics, but I believe we're not there yet. We could further enhance the efficiency. But let's keep this in mind, that right now, with the efficiency of solar panels of today, most homes have enough roof space for 7 to 9 times their current energy needs. And this information is from Tony Seba. I highly recommend this video from Tony Seba. Tony Seba runs a think tank on solar energy and energy in general. And this is extremely compelling information. So right now it's 7 to 9 times your energy needs with a panel. Now keep in mind what I just said. It's going to keep getting much cheaper. And also the efficiency, in my view, is likely going to double again. So if it doubles again, that means you're going to get, 14 to 18 to 18 times, right? 14 to 18 times your current needs are going to be covered by this solar panel. And that's the nature of our species, really. Every new generation uses more energy. We always find a use for that energy. Here's another thing that I think people may underestimate is there's this old dream in solar to have structural solar. And that dream is slowly becoming a reality. In a lot of cases, solar panels are becoming structurally sound, structurally cheap. If you think you can get an entry-level solar panel for something like $130, not wholesale, retail, ask yourself how much does the cost of very strong resistant plywood costs? Well, as we get into another reduction by 9x or 10x in the cost of solar panels, you got to ask yourself, are you going to have the cost of solar be on parity with say plywood? And when you start thinking like that, you're getting the case for structural solar or structural roofs, which is what Tesla is working on a lot. If they're working on the roof tiles, where the solar is a part of the architecture. It's a part of the structure. This is a similar evolution that happened, for example, in glass, where you can use glass as part of the structure. Well, you can probably use solar as part of the structure of future homes. So as we move towards a world where there's, solar everywhere on most homes, because it becomes so cheap, because it is already the cheapest source of energy, I believe that we're going to have so many ways to use that energy, right? What could be those ways? Well, electric cars are going to be a big part of that story. All of your electric cars at your house, you're going to be able to charge with your solar energy and your solar panels, whereas your car sits on the driveway and charges in the driveway. But I also believe this is going to be great because there's going to be many future energy applications. One of the things that's taking off right now is these portable battery banks. And when you look at the storage capacity of these portable battery banks, it's absolutely stunning. Like, you can run a job site for like 3 days without having a loud generator. It's absolutely stunning. But future applications include, running computer systems. So this is just a Bitcoin miner, which is one type of computer system you can run. But you could run so many types of decentralized or even centralized computer systems as part of bigger system. You can run computer systems and spend that energy to make money or get some benefit. I also believe there's going to be many things going on in different types of new appliances. So a appliance that's growing really quickly right now, for example, is growing your own food at home. If you have an appliance that grows, say, a garden, all it takes is power for heat and power for light, and that gets solved when you have 7 to 9x your current needs in energy provided by your solar roof. Another thing that I'm fairly bullish on, although this is very nascent, is these air to water generators, like where you can generate clean water at home with an appliance about the size of a air conditioning unit. And this is an example of one that's about 2 kilowatt hours and it generates 52 gallons a day. Technology is going to get better on this, and you got to ask yourself, does free energy, unlimited energy, does that also mean that you get rid of your water bill and just produce safe cleaning water at home? There's a lot of issues sometimes with fresh water. So I think that's also another aspect of the revolutions that are going to happen with all of that free energy. And there's another revolution happening, of course, which follows kind of the same, perhaps happens even faster than solar, and it's batteries. So batteries, they got 9 times cheaper over the past 11 years, roughly. And they also got 8 times more dense over the past 12 years. You can look at the data. This is from Ars Technica. You can look it up, and this is from energy.gov. So you essentially have 2 orders of magnitude colliding over 10 years here. And why is that, right? It's because batteries are manufactured at the scale of consumer electronics, right? Just like smartphones became from non-existent to every single person's hands in 10 years, the same is happening to batteries. Batteries are flocking the market. They are becoming so prevalent and so cheap. You have entire cities in China specializing in making batteries. These things are becoming dirt cheap, and there is no sign that they won't get any cheaper going forward. And so, anyways, what's my update here? Right now, homeowners have to, outside of NEM 3 arrangements, right? If you're outside of NEM 3, you can still use the grid. You can still use the grid as a battery. So I guess if you're still under the NEM 3 arrangement, or if you get solar in a state that hasn't moved to a 3.0 system, you're good using the battery of the grid. But I think the future really is going to be there when NEM 3, first of all, goes throughout the country. And that option of using this grid as storage slowly becomes gone throughout the country. People will feel compelled to get these batteries. And when they get these batteries, what they'll likely do is they will hoard the electricity for their personal use, unless and when there is NEM 3 tariff events. And that's part of NEM 3. Like whenever you have a peak in the state, NEM 3 allows you to resell your electricity to the grid for a bunch of money. And so that's kind of thing where we're headed, where everybody just stores the power at home. And I think for utilities in this case, it's a terrible idea to teach people about decentralized power, because if you teach people about decentralized power, they're going to do it. It's a horrible move for utilities. These batteries are going to get much cheaper. If people get in the habit of just using their own batteries, there is no business left, right? If you're teaching people new ways to just store energy, you're not going to have the business in the future down the line of just using the grid. It's not going to be as compelling. And this is happening everywhere. I get I follow solar quite a bit, so I get all of the recommendations on YouTube from different people in the space, and these setups are getting installed all across the world, really, where you can just get this is for Enphase IQ10. That's enough to be, off grid forever on your home, and you never need the grid anymore if you have 4 of these. Tesla battery packs, if you have 2 or 3, you're likely cutting yourself off the grid. You even have people who do kind of DIY options where they take a bunch of EcoFlows, like 2 or 3, and that's it. They just become their own energy grid or their own energy system. I also want to point to this quickly, is that in the winter, when there's this misconception that you would have to store energy in the summer to use it in the winter to heat your home. And this is a misconception on 2 levels. First of all, you are going to have 7 to 9 times your needs. So the little sun that you get in the winter is going to be enough to heat your home as you use your battery storage to, say, store energy during the day and use it at night. That's going to be enough. That's number one misconception. The second misconception is that we still use heaters to heat our homes when really we should use heat pumps. And so there's another whole revolution happening with heat pumps where people are trying to use heat pumps instead of using just simple heaters, and heat pumps are very dirt cheap to heat a home. So that's also a misconception that I wanted to address here. But batteries, in my view, they're going to become prevalent because all of a sudden the grid is off limits. All of a sudden the battery we all have, that meter at our home that connects us to the grid, that battery all of a sudden is gone because of NEM 3. It's like a business removing optionality. They are removing the optionality for themselves, which in my view is a very bad move. And on the contrary, I believe they should just have an option where homeowners can pay, I don't know, a monthly fee to be able to use the grid as a battery and not have to do these investments. But you're going to have a wide variety of homeowners that are going to be compelled to do these investments. I believe this is a wrong move. If I were a utility, to me, a smaller move to delay the inevitable, as I think I've made the case, when you see the abundant power that we're going to have, to me would be to provide battery or energy bank services, where really you don't have an utility provider or grid provider, but you have a provider of a virtual battery, where homeowners with excess energy can just store it for their future use, and you could allow the resale of energy to others who have not made the switch. And this was common in the early days of solar. In the early days of solar, people would get large installations hoping to resell the current to the grid. This is slowly going away. This is even less common. But I believe that was the first issue when implementing NEM 2 and now NEM 3. The first issue is moving away from that resell option, because when you were reselling electricity to the grid, when you were allowing homeowners with solar panels to resell electricity to their neighbors, that was a clear incentive for that customer to do business with you, right? So anyways, I believe utilities, to me, one of the right moves could be that utilities instead of being energy production companies, that they move to becoming energy storage companies, where most homes in the US are connected to the grid. So most homes in the US have a battery already there in the form of a grid. And when you're doing NEM 3, you're cutting that option from you. You're cutting the opportunity of storing energy for people. And there's a lot of very interesting technologies as energy storage, as a grid level energy storage there's a lot of opportunities. Like a big one, for example, is a physical or gravity storage system, which is just a crane that lifts 30-ton bricks, and you just stack bricks, and it's like, as the power gets in, you use the energy to stack bricks. As the power gets out, you use the energy to expand those bricks, and you use gravity. So that's a very, very long-term solution to store energy. You can store energy for decades with that system. Then you have the battery packs, of course, which will likely be the winning way to store energy, just because we have scale in manufacturing that you can't really have with this or with this. And really, batteries can be deployed everywhere, while a water system, right, a pump storage energy system where you use a dam, you can't really do that if you don't have a mountain. This you can't really do if you don't have, say, a wide open plot of land. Another one I think that a lot of legacy energy companies could do would be to look at liquid air solutions. gas companies, oil companies in general, chemical companies are very, very good at compressing air. And so you can use a lot of the infrastructure of gas that's used to liquefy gas or compress gas. You can use a lot of that infrastructure to compress air and create energy and store energy in the form of liquid air or cooled liquid air, very dense air that almost looks like water when it's cooled. So that's also another aspect that I think traditional energy companies could move into. But clearly that move of preventing people from using the grid as a battery, in my view, that move is going to precipitate the adoption of all of these battery systems, and it's just going to precipitate that adoption in my view, because customers are just not going to be willing to give 1 kilowatt hour to the utility company and get back 1/5 or 1/6 of a kilowatt hour. That's just not how customers are going to look at it in my view. So this is very bullish for Enphase, and I believe this is clearly a wrong move that utilities. It's the utilities not so smart move. That's what happens when you think short term and when you don't think about the long-term consequences of your business moves and your actions. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is just entertainment. I hope you were entertained. Thank you so much for watching this edutainment only video. Please like, please subscribe. Appreciate all of you following me. Thank you and have a great day.